you are almost isolating yourself to feel alone. You're isolating your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, not realizing that we are all human. You are human. It's okay for you to go through things. It's okay for you to go through a period of time where you just can't be there for everybody. And that's okay.
Split mind, no need an assignment. Straightforward, eyes on the climbing. On the side, no man at the climbing. Burning bitches in my third.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kee Samone, and if you are new here, I want to say welcome. And if you're returning, I want to say welcome back, girl. Welcome back to another Mindset Chit Chat video. And today I'm talking about a topic that is very near, dear, and true to my heart. Not something that I've just experienced in the past, but something that I'm still currently working through. And I felt really compelled to bring this topic up because I feel like that it's not talked about enough. I feel like we see these posts all the time. Check on your strong friends, check on your strong friends. But do your strong friends know that they're the strong friend? Do they acknowledge that they're the strong friend? And do you really know what it's doing to you? If you feel like that this topic resonates with you and you really want to dive into how we can remediate that, where it came from, how it's affecting you now, and how you want to change it for your future and better self, then go ahead and stick around because, girl, this video is for you. This video is for me, but this video is also for you. So go ahead and grab some water, wine, or kombucha, and let's just hop right into today's topic. Alrighty, so before we dive in, I just want to say how beautiful it is today. It's spring, and I don't know. I keep saying this over and over again. I've said it in my vlogs, and I said it in my last Mindset Chit Chat video, but I just feel so refreshed coming out of the winter months. The season change is honestly doing me so good, and just getting back to, you know, eating healthier, moving my body, working out. It's all been coming together, and I hope the same thing for you. I hope that you had a great Easter. And, you know, as you can see, we got on the white pants, we got on, you know, the pink stripe button up, and we're feeling really spring. We're feeling really cute. We're feeling energized, and we are feeling ready to jump into all those goals that you have for 2024 and to the you that you really want to become. And speaking of becoming the woman, the person that you really want to be, one of the things that comes up for me is being the strong friend and not really understanding how vulnerability and having a community is really helpful for you. So I didn't make any points. I didn't make any tips. I didn't make any of that. I'm kind of just speaking from personal experience and just diving into where it came from for me, or where I believe it came from for me, how it's showing up in my life today, and the things that I'm doing to make changes to that. So let's just go ahead and hop right in. I feel like that I've always been the strong friend. I don't want to say I don't know where it came from, because I feel like I definitely do know where it came from. I am the oldest daughter of two girls, and I'm the oldest grandchild. I am the oldest niece. I am, you know, obviously the first person in my family to, not first person in my family, but, you know, just that first sibling. And my mother was single, raising us for the majority of our lives. So I've always felt this sense of, I need to be strong and I need to show up. I need to be my best self, and I need to put my best foot forward at all times. Anything that I could do to make life easier for, whether it be my mom or my friends or whatever, if I could fit into that in some way, I would do that. And it wasn't because anybody asked me to. It wasn't because, you know, somebody put that expectation on me. I kind of put it on myself. Me being a very empathic person, a very empathetic person, I think that I just assume what people want and need, and I just go ahead and fill in that role. And that's something that I feel like, you know, it's a good thing to have. It's a good trait to have, but to a certain extent. You cannot continue to be that person or be that individual that is going to always step in and put yourself aside, because over time, it just gets really draining. And in the last, I'd say 3 years, I want to say 2, maybe 3 years has been the time frame when I'm like, okay, this is too much. Like, I cannot continue to do this, but it's so ingrained in me, with me being 30 years old, that's 30 entire years of doing something a certain way, being a certain way. So it's really, really hard to get out of that mindset. And also it's just uncomfortable because it's not something that you're used to. It's not something that you are familiar with not being like. So it almost feels like you're stepping out of yourself and becoming something different. Even though it is something that's going to better you, it's something that's going to better me, it feels uncomfortable at times, and it's muscle memory to fall back into those ways. Like I said, oldest daughter to a single mother, and I really just always just took on that responsibility. Like I took that responsibility very seriously. I felt as if that, whatever I could do, I'm gonna make it easier. So on top of that, I was also a military brat. My mom was active duty in the Army. If y'all have been following my channel for a while or subscribed to my channel for a while, then you'll know that I was active duty as well. But not just me, my mom was too. So we moved around a lot. And so I never had a very, very big group of friends. I've never had a very big group of friends. I've always known a lot of people, obviously from moving around a lot, and always had a lot of associates and just, friends from a distance or, kind of high and by, but I've never been in a place to be able to create those long-term close-knit relationships. And I feel like that also has a very major role into why I am the way I am and why it's developed so strongly and been ingrained in my personality so deeply. And so I would probably have maybe like 2 or 3 like really close people to me, but even still, I never could get too close. Like for some reason, there's just something in me that just would not allow myself to be fully transparent, fully vulnerable with my friends. 1, because I knew I was going to move, and 2, because I was raised on the thought, and a lot of us Black women, we have been raised on that same thing. What happens at home stays at home. Your business is not nobody else's business. And I still stand on that firmly. I don't feel like you have to divulge everything to everybody, but it does become a sickness almost when you have everything bottled in, when you keep everything to yourself, and when you're not willing to divulge information, even when it's going to help you, even when it's somebody that you can trust, or even if it feels like it's somebody that you might can trust, you still kind of feel like, yeah, no, I don't need to know all that. I'm just going to keep it pushing. So that is kind of where I feel like that developed for me in childhood. And that really just carried through with me with my young adult years and up into my 20s. So I think that, as a child, yes, we have issues and yes, we have problems and little things like that. But, once you become an adult, that's when real life starts to hit, when you start to take care of yourself, and when you start to, start paying bills, get a job, and all of these different things. And a lot of things are on you, more so on your mental and your physical and your emotional. And those are really the times when you need to be letting off that steam, being able to be comfortable in talking about what it is that you're going through. So fast forward to my 20s, like I just mentioned, I was in the Army, and, when I went to my different duty stations, I would have, again, those 1 or 2 close people to me, but I could never be that super, super transparent. So like I said, even when I joined the Army, it was still the same thing. I would know a lot of people, like know so many people, and then have my few little close-knit people, but I still would not feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable. And it wouldn't be that these people would, show me that I could not be that way with them. It was just literally ingrained in me. So fast forward through my 20s to my later 20s, which is the last like 2 or 3 years of my life. And I started to feel really, really, I don't want to say resentful, but I started to feel so heavy. And that made me feel like that I couldn't be there for anybody. And I was trying to figure out why, I would have conversations with friends like that you may not even think, okay, that's something that's super heavy, just little issues. And I will always feel like oh my gosh, I have to listen to this. I have to listen to this issue. I have to listen to this issue. I have to listen to this issue. And I started feeling so heavy. It got to the point where I would just feel really, really drained after having conversations with friends that should have felt like easy. And I was trying to figure out why, like, why do I feel this way? And then in the same breath, I will always feel like, I'm going through something. I was going through a full transition out of the military. I was battling a lot of things mentally, and I felt so heavy. I felt like that I did not have anybody to run to, that I didn't have anybody to turn to, that I didn't have anybody to talk to other than my therapist and my wife. And so I felt, I don't know, I just had this image in my brain. I was like, everybody's using me. Everybody is just soaking up the little bit of power that I have. And really, it was just that I was not giving them the opportunity to be there for me. And that's where we lead into, damn, I'm the strong friend. I'm the strong friend that people don't even think they have to check up on, because to them, to their knowledge and no fault of their own, everything seems to be fine. Everything seems to be hunky-dory. Everything is straight. And mind you, even though, I'm a human, everybody is a human, people don't necessarily take the time to like stop and think about that. Like, everybody's human. She must have something going on. She must have something going on. I think in the moment when you're being, when you're with your friends or when you're with your close acquaintances, nobody's going to stop and think like, let me just ask her if she got something going on, And I feel like even when friends did, I would be so quick to be like, might gloss over it. Like I might be really going through something and just talk about the high level points and just leave everything else to my therapist, leave everything else to my wife, or, just write it in my journal. And so it came to a point where I just felt broken. I felt lonely. Even though I had a community around me, I felt very much so lonely. I felt very much so heavy. And it came to a point where being vulnerable was scary for me. Being vulnerable made me have panic attacks. Like being vulnerable and feeling like that I divulged too much information, it made me feel like, oh my gosh, I think I said too much, or oh my gosh, like I just never wanted to say too much. I just never wanted to feel like that people were in my business. But in reality, I really needed people to be there for me, to hear me, to see me, to just be aware, I guess you would say. And again, I'm not saying that everybody in your life needs to know everything, but you do need to have those people around you that are going to be there for you. And so that at the end of the day, you don't feel so heavy. You have to give people the opportunity to care for you. You have to give people the opportunity to reach out to help you. And if you are never letting these people know, or if you're never feeling comfortable enough to have these conversations, people won't know. And you can't really blame people. I used to be, again, so wound up and so kind of agitated whenever I would have vent sessions with my friends, and I would be on the receiving end, and I would be hearing, different things of what they're going through. And I'm like, damn, like you act like I don't go through stuff, and it wasn't like a shot at them, but it was like an internal thing, like, damn, like I just always hear everybody's problems. But then I really had to take a step back and reevaluate my actions and my role that I had in that. And it's like, sis, you ain't even told your friends anything. Like you have not even gave anyone an ounce of an inch of anything to where they would even know that you needed them, to even know that, it was their turn to be the listening ear, and it was your turn to speak. It was your turn to talk. And so I really had to take a step back and look in the mirror and ask myself, why am I like this? Why am I so uncomfortable with being vulnerable. Like, why does that feel so icky to me? Like, why does it give me anxiety? Why, when I share something even remotely small, and the things that I'm talking about sharing, let me think of an example. Something that would normally somebody would just keep going with their day and not think twice of it. Something just popped into my head. When I went to BLC, which is the training school to be a sergeant, I failed my PT test the first time, and you get a second round go. It was like some type of technical whatever with my sit-ups, and I was so embarrassed. I was feeling so down. Even though I knew I was going to have a second chance, I was feeling so down. But in that moment, I would have loved to vent to someone. And obviously I had to tell, my leadership that was something that I had to do. But like someone who was a friend and just vent to them like, dang, girl, I'm feeling like this, like I'm kind of down. And that would have given somebody the opportunity to build me back up, to give me those words of affirmation, to just reassure me like, girl, you got this. Instead, I chose to deal with that on my own. And that's something that's so small, something that's so minute. I felt uncomfortable talking about that with anyone because it's like, I'm scared to show that I am not the person that you can lean on. And again, like I said, that's very, very small. But in the moment, things like that, whether they're small or whether they're big, we just feel like it's going to be too much, and you don't want your people to worry about you. I feel like that's another thing. That's a very empath type of trait, is not wanting your loved ones to worry about you, not wanting your friends to worry about you, because let's face it, everybody has things going on. Just like how I just mentioned, I would be wondering, why is someone not wondering what I have going on, even though I never gave them the idea or let them know that I had something going on. I am fully aware that people have things going on. I have friends with kids. I have friends, that may be living in circumstances that they don't necessarily care to be in. Like, I always look at people's issues, or I always look at the potential of maybe whatever issues or problems that they may be going on. And I'm like, I don't want to put this on anybody. Like, I don't want to have somebody wondering if I'm okay when really they're not okay themselves, or they have a bunch of things on their plate that they necessarily don't have the capacity or the time to deal with me on. And so it was just a never ending cycle of not wanting to be vulnerable, but feeling the need to be vulnerable, and then feeling the pains from it, and then just continuing to have everything bottled up. Recently, I want to say like the end of summer, like throughout fall, but not really so much diving into it. I would maybe drop a couple of sprinkles of vulnerability here and there just to test the waters, just to see how it made me feel. And I was when I say pleasantly, I was pleasantly surprised that people could relate. And they either had maybe a similar situation, could shed some light on the situation, or they can just give me some words of encouragement, words of affirmation. And I say all that to motivate you and to reassure you that you don't have to be the strong friend. And if you do feel like you have to be the strong friend, then the friends that you have, or like if someone has ever made you feel like you had to be there for them, if someone has ever made you feel like that, and mind you, no one has ever made me feel like that. I've always taken on this role myself. I've always chosen to be that person myself. No one has ever told me to do that. Girl, why would I do that? I don't know. I told y'all about my childhood. It's just in me. It ain't on me. It's in me to listen and be there and, comfort people. But if you have friends that are making you feel that way, they're not your friends. Like, if you have a friend that calls you and they're always going to be the one like, yeah, girl, I got this going on. Yeah, girl, I got this going on. And they haven't even asked you how you're doing. And they haven't even asked you, how's your week going? How's this going? If they know that you have something going on in your life, oh, how's that going for you? Like, what's been up? Or I haven't seen you in a while. Like, are you okay? How you doing mentally, spiritually, and physically? These are the type of questions that I ask my friends when I speak to them. These are the type of questions that I want people to ask me. And if you don't have friends that are asking you that, or if you don't have family members or whoever is around you that is asking you questions like that, then maybe you should start to question how close those people should be to you. Because if they are very comfortable in you being the strong friend, or you being non-vulnerable, or if they're comfortable with saying like, well, if she ain't talking about her issues, then I ain't gonna deal with them because I got my own issues, then that's not fair, and that's not a friend. And I just feel like that once I did have those couple of moments where I was testing out, throwing out those little things of vulnerability based on the different people's responses, because I've tried this with different people, and this is also something that my therapist has suggested to me. I want to say the year before last, and it took me a little while to get on the train, even though she suggested it a long time ago. I'm not going to say she was right, but girl, you were right. Once I started sprinkling in these little bits of vulnerability and just different things about myself, like it might have been random, or it could have been related to a conversation that I was having based on the person's response, that let me know moving forward, okay, this is where I need to place you on my vulnerability scale. Okay. And the people that had that response, like, girl, I can relate because it's such and such and such and such. Or if they couldn't relate, but just wanted to reassure me and let me know that they were there for me, I know that I needed to bring them in a little bit closer. I knew that, okay, I could feel safe doing this. And so again, I say all this to say, baby, you're not alone. You are almost isolating yourself to feel alone. You're isolating your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, not realizing that we are all human. You are human. It's okay for you to go through things. It's okay for you to go through a period of time where you just can't be there for everybody. And that's okay. The people that don't understand, they're not for you, or either they just need to be placed a little bit farther away from you until you can get yourself together. And then the people that really do want to be there for you, the people that really love you and care for you, you are going to feel so much relief when you have the help you need, when you have the listening ear that you need. And I realized that, and I realized the power in vulnerability and community. And honestly, I can kind of relate it to being on YouTube, because the irony in this whole situation is I could literally get on a camera. I think there's a couple of very vulnerable videos that I have on my channel, and I'll actually link them in the description box below. Sometimes I can go back and watch my videos, but those videos, they're like I'm scared to watch them, honestly. Like, editing them was so cringy. I was like, do I really want to say this? If I could tell y'all how many things I've cut out my videos of me just talking and feeling comfortable with my camera, obviously, because it's not a real person. I mean, y'all are real people, and y'all is my girls and my beautiful people, but it was so easy for me to get in front of my camera and start talking and divulging things that I would never say to my friends' faces, or never say like out loud, or just feel comfortable enough to jump into a conversation if it had anything to do with those things. It was very ironic, but I can relate it to being on YouTube, because when you look at the people that are most successful on YouTube, and I'm only using YouTube as an example because it's a really big part of my life, and it has been for almost 5 years. When you look at a lot of the creators, especially lifestyle, that are successful, they're vulnerable to a certain extent. Now, I'm not saying like I support the creators that trauma dump on their audience, or build trauma bonds with their audience, because I feel like that there is a fine line in between being relatable and being vulnerable and then just trauma dumping. Like, I would never come on here and do that to y'all. I just share my experiences so that y'all do realize that there is a real person on the other side of this camera that deals with real things, that goes through real things, and is not out here, wanting to be perfect, trying to be perfect, because perfection is truly a cancer, and it's something that eats away at you because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So once you realize that you are a human being, you're not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Other people don't have to think you're perfect. And if people do have that perception of you, then you're not being open with them. You're not being honest with them. You're not being real with them. And this is not a shot at you. And this is not anything to make you feel bad, because I've even had to take that look in the mirror myself and realize, like, hey, obviously nobody's going to know what you have going on because you don't share. You don't have to share with everyone, but you do need to find maybe those 2 or 3 people that can be trusted counsel for you. And if you do feel like, I don't have anybody in my circle like that, maybe you need a new circle. Okay. I don't necessarily know if this video is cohesive. I don't know if these conversation points are cohesive. I didn't have any talking points. I didn't really have an end goal, but to share my experience, bring light to the situation, and hopefully reach someone who hears this and feels like that they hold this title and that they feel heavy from it, and bring light to it and just make you, or just motivate you to want to change. Take those baby steps to change. Some things that I've done, again, is testing out the waters, divulging things that I would be okay with if, this person knew, not necessarily jumping into the deep end with things that I know for a fact that I'm not ready to share, just because, like I said, this is 30 years coming, like that I've been like this. So I don't ever want to put myself in an uncomfortable situation that is going to, hurt me in the end. But it's okay to get uncomfortable a little bit, because that's where you see growth. And that's in anything in life. Putting yourself in uncomfortable positions is going to result in growth, whether that's moving out of your hometown, making new friends, going out on a limb and trying that new job, or going back to school for a degree, or trying a new hobby, starting that business. All of those things are uncomfortable, but they're going to result in growth, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that is so, so very important. And that's ultimately our goal. We don't want to stay stagnant in life. And I realized that I was staying stagnant in life. Why am I unable to, match the connection that my friends feel with me? Why can't I match that energy with them? So it really had me taking inventory, and it really had me feeling like, okay, I may need to switch up my surroundings, or I may need to find like other like-minded people, other like-minded women for maybe this portion, this little area of interest in my life, and, have these friends for this area of interest. Because it's okay to have friends for different reasons. It's okay to not have the same friends for everything. It's kind of like certain gatherings or certain events. Some people, that's just not what they're into. And you wouldn't invite everybody to everything, just like you wouldn't tell everybody everything or the same things, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not talking in circles, and I hope that this makes sense. But I really hope that this message got across to someone out there, to my fellow strong friends, my fellow recovering strong friends, or my fellow strong friends that realize, like, I'm feeling really heavy right now. I'm feeling really heavy, and I know I don't have to be. And if you don't know that you don't have to feel heavy, I'm here to tell you, this is your gentle reminder. You don't have to feel that way. You don't have to live that way. It's unhealthy. It's going to eat at you. It's going to eat away at you. You're going to develop trust issues. You're going to develop resentment to the people that are really close to you, the people that you really, really love. And you're going to feel just stretched thin. And we don't want to feel like that. We want to be able to operate from a place of wholeness. And if we don't have a community around us, a strong community, someone who is there to reassure you. And again, this can be your romantic partner, this can be your wife or your husband, but you also need to feel that same thing outside of your household. You also need to feel those same things whenever you're going through major transitional moments in your life. I just recently went back to school, and that is a major transitional moment in my life, because at 30, not a lot of people are going back to school. But if you have a support system, and if you have people that are there for you, and you have people that understand, you know, okay, well, she has this and this to do, so you know, I'm gonna wish her luck, you know, on this day because I know she has an exam, or I'm gonna give her words of affirmation, or I'm gonna, you know, ask her how things are going. So if she does need to vent, you know, I could be there for her. Having people that are going to love you and care for you and be there for you in those moments is so, so very important. And I promise you, you're going to feel so, so much better. So just take those baby steps, whatever it looks like for you, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, you know, some of your friends, whether it's going out and finding new friends. It's okay. And I'm just here to be a gentle reminder, a very gentle yet firm reminder that we've got to get out of that headspace. And I'm speaking to you, but I'm speaking to me as well. We have got to get out of that headspace. We're going to feel so much healthier, so much happier. And it just affects you in so many different ways, not just mentally, but also physically, because holding so much in you can literally make you sick, can literally deter you from that natural zest for life that you should have. I thank you so, so much for sharing space with me today. If this video, if this message, if just my personal experience resonated with you, make sure that you leave that down in the comments below. Let me know what you got out of this video, if anything at all. And if you know someone who may need this video or may benefit from hearing this message, please share this with them. I thank you again so, so much for tuning in. And yes, that's just going to wrap it up, and I will see you all in my next video.